Having a positive mindset, I would say having a determined mindset. When you're determined and have a duty and have a goal in place, now you're more intentional because it's like, okay, in the midst of my sadness, I'm going to do this work. In the midst of my depression, I'm going to do this work. In the midst of my anxiety, I'm going to do this work because it's what needs to be done. I utilize what's going on in my life, and obviously I utilize the power of prayer as much as I can. Faith has been the foundation of my pen to pad. That's just the facts, because obviously I realized.
Some experts chase attention, but the smart ones build authority. You're listening to the Authority on Demand podcast, where credibility becomes your competitive advantage. Every week, we're pulling back the curtain on how founders and leaders turn expertise into inbound demand through books that position, media that converse, and strategies that actually move the needle. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authority on Demand. Now, let's turn your authority into leverage. Hey everyone. So if you're looking for superficial success tips, this isn't the podcast episode for you. But if you want raw, real-world insights from authors who have been in the trenches, welcome to Authors on Mission. We're on a mission to extract the hard-won wisdom of accomplished authors so you can shortcut your way to the top. Our guest today is the perfect example, Ahmard Vital, author of the new book, Now What?, and a man who has inspired thousands worldwide to push past limitations and live up to their fullest potential. So without further ado, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Danielle, for having me on.
Of course. You're got some awesome background here and a very inspiring book for us to talk about today. Hey, real quick before we jump back in, if you're loving what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We're bringing you the best authors, the most real conversations, and all the writing wisdom that you didn't know you needed. So stick around because it only gets better from here. All right, now let's get back to the conversation. But before we talk about the book, let's just chat about yourself a little bit. You were a college football analyst in the past. I'm wondering how that kind of shaped you, how it impacted your current work.
Well, first and foremost, I've been a writer.
A writer, okay.
Yes, so since uh, I always say I learned how to walk, and then I had a pen in my hand within that amount. Um, I wrote my first book at 11. I was working for professional newspapers by the time I was 14. I was the high school editor of my newspaper. I went to college and majored in journalism, graduated from college, learned how to do photography, and I came back and worked at a professional community newspaper out here. And then somewhere along the way, I found a guy who was doing what was called at that time online blogging for athletes. And I was like, I want in on this. And so the foundation, obviously, I played football. I played high school and college football. And so sports has always been big for me. It's one of those things where it's kind of like they say in the mafia movies, like you never really get out. And so I'm itching to sort of get back in right now. I got some colleagues I'm probably going to be reaching out here too soon. It's like, hey, get me on for 3 or 4 articles a month. Let's just do it. So writing is my core, whereas you probably see in my bio, I speak, I coach, I consult, I'm in youth ministry, and I do a number of things. But this right here is the foundation. Outside of the word of God, this is my foundation right here as far as everything I do. Anything I do starts off with pen to pad, no matter what it is.
I love that. That's very inspiring to hear. I love that metaphor you made in the beginning too, like you were walking with the pen in your hand. I think it's amazing because authors out there, we all have a dream. We have a story to tell. Some people were born with a passion to write, others developed it, but you had it in you. So I guess that goes to show this is going to be a very interesting conversation. The passion drives it, right? So, talking a little bit more about this, I mean, I understand that faith really very much guides your work, in addition to the writing. Is that correct? And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, and that's been a roller coaster of a life of mine as well. Just all the way back to childhood and things of that nature. But I will say probably, let's just say in the last 5 to 7 years, um, faith has been the foundation of my pen to pad. That's just the facts, because obviously I realized that I'm nothing without Jesus. So there's
Mhm.
nothing I can do without him. And so that being the foundation of me, everything springs out from that. Now, of course, everything I write is not always amazing, but I do know that the skill and the talent that I have to be able to do that does come from him because our gifts, our talents, and our abilities do come from him. And so I like to honor that. And so, I think going forward, a lot of my books are always going to reference back to that, or kind of be the foundation of that, because there is no book without knowing that my rotation in the morning is prayer and Bible before I leave the room. So that is going to be always the floor, the foundation, and the want to put pen to pad, to glorify him, even if it's not directly about him. It is about him because I live, move, and have my being because of him. So faith is a huge foundational pillar of where I am in my life right now.
Understood. Yeah, and I like that you shared that with us because everybody has to have, something driving their writing and their choices and their beliefs. And for you, it's your passion for writing and it's your faith. That's incredible. And I guess that's kind of what accumulated to create Now What, which, if I'm not mistaken, is that with behind you right there on the screen? Is that the book?
No, that's actually the Max Lucado Bible. The Now
Oh,
What book is to the right of me over there. I thought I had it. It's usually right here next to my thing, but I think I took it in the other room and I didn't bring
oh,
it back. So,
okay.
but
Well, I was gonna say, I do like to sometimes spotlight, the author's cover and the design. Do you want if
yes,
you want, you can go grab it. It's up to you. What do you think? Okay.
it's within reach and distance. So it's right.
Good. All right, there it
Um,
is.
so it can be, you know, I'm
Yeah.
first. So that
I
is
see.
it is the book. Now what 5 steps to get up and create the most life. By the way, my publisher did amazing with this cover. By the way they laid that out, and each of the steps are there's a ladder next to it. So that's kind of the steps as you're going up the ladder to the now what um, understanding of what we're doing. So um, that book, it didn't really come out of any pain. It came out of a little bit of frustration.
Mm,
I wrote that book in the middle of 2020, which
mhm.
I think a few things were going on during that time. And so I just remember I was listening to some podcasts, I was listening to some different commentators I review on a weekly basis, and I just had enough of it. I was tired of people blaming others for their misfortune. I was tired of, you know, all of the rules that were kind of going into it. Just all of it was so much, I don't want to say division, but it was just so much. I need to get my point across, and you need to hear my grievances, and you need to do for me because I'm owed something. And it's like no one owes anybody anything
Yeah.
at all. No one is owed anything in life. That is a fact. We earn what we do. The only thing that comes for free is the salvation. That's it. Everything else, you got to work for it, and no one owes you anything. And so I'm encouraged from the standpoint that as I look through now what that it is a book that can take you from being in the pits to making some empowered moves in your life. A lot of times, like, we take on pretty mighty tasks. Like, I'm sure when you first started this podcast, I'm pretty sure there was a lot of preparation that went into it. And you're just like, do I know what I'm doing? I need to reach out to people and be able to figure some things out. And like, how much do I need to invest in it financially? All these different things are extremely important. Now, what looks through all of those different things? And it's 5 steps, obviously: reflect, decide, plan, act, and seek. And those 5 steps, will help you get from point A to point B in little incremental steps. And so it was built on the idea that I was talking to a couple of friends of mine in the middle of COVID, and I'm sort of coaching them. And I'm like, all right, look, tell me what the situation is. It's like, well, this is going on and this is going on. I was like, well, you can do this. And it's like, well, I can't do this because this is in place. I'm like, okay, well, what about this? And then you can do this. Well, I don't have access to that. And I'm like, okay. And I just remember just unpacking his life. And I was like, Lord, I got nothing for this. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so I went back and I made the notes for Now What on the tollway here in Houston. I'm sure don't encourage anyone to write and drive, but hey man, I'm all over the place. And so I need to be able to put some things to pad. But I just remember writing down the outline for this because I was like, I need people to look in the mirror and take personal responsibility. I have a chapter in there that's one of my most profound chapters, and it's called "It's Not Your Fault, but It Is Your Problem." There's someone listening right now who's going to be like, "Yeah, man, my mom was on crack and my dad is in jail."
Mm,
As a
right.
kid, that's not your fault,
No.
but it's your problem because the people who are supposed to be bringing you up in this world are not available, or they're cracked out, or whatever's going on. And so I have sympathy for those people, but at the same time, there's always a, you know,
Yeah.
we don't have equal situations in our life. And so now what kind of looks very hard at those different things to be able to just unpack those and say, look, in the midst of this, I'm going to go make something happen.
Absolutely. Thank you for walking us through that. I love you transitioned also. We were talking about the cover design. You kind of just went into the facts itself. I do want to point out that your work is very straightforward to the point, right? Which I guess is why the cover itself is also just blatant there. Like the title right in front of you, giant letters, and then just the steps right there for you to see. So no fluff, just what exactly it is you need. So that's perfect. And right here, you got right down to business. You talked to us all about exactly what these steps are, and with examples too, which is great. Now, I guess I'm curious to know. I mean, I think a lot of this requires having a positive mindset, right? So, like, can you tell us a little bit more about that? How it fuels success, just having that mindset to get us through it all?
Well, as while I do agree, for there's a positive mindset that goes into this, but I can say that all three of my books, well, the last two, I'm More Than Enough and Now What, those were written out of pain. Those were
Mm,
written out of triumph.
you
I
did
mean,
miss.
out of tragedy. Like like I'm More Than Enough was a recollection the night of my dad died, the night of my 33rd birthday. That was painful. And so I just utilize, it's kind of like going back to the Romans 8:28. God uses all things to good for those who love him, meaning I'll take all the junk that's going on in your life and you can make some good out of it. Not only is it a testimony, but it can be a talking point to be like, hey, here's the way you need to move. This is what's possible to happen if you do this. And so having a positive mindset, I would say having a determined mindset more so than a positive, because obviously positive, I mean, positive is sustainable, but obviously, happy, sad, mad, glad, those are fleeting emotions that can kind of come in and out when they want to. But when you're determined and have a duty and have a goal in place, now you're more intentional, because it's like, okay, in the midst of my sadness, I'm going to do this work. In the midst of my depression, I'm going to do this work. In the midst of my anxiety, I'm going to do this work because it's what needs to be done. And so I utilize what's going on in my life, and obviously, I utilize the power of prayer as much as I can through this, throughout the day. And so I use what's there and just be like, hey, what do we have? Think about the time when you were probably at like a very low point in your life, and if you
Right.
pulled out a pad and was just like you just dumped it out and just was like writing out everything. And I actually have a it's a project or an assignment that's in Now What, especially during the reflect stage. And it's like, hey, I want you to go through and take a pad and write a line down the middle of it. And on the left side, I want you to tell me how your life is absolutely terrible and it's the worst thing ever. You can't get out of it. This is terrible. This is terrible. My dad hates me. My mom has abandoned me, and my brothers, they don't talk. Like, give me all of it. Like, have the most ultimate pity party of all time. Let it out. And I tell them to take that pad and set it aside, minimum of 4 hours, preferably a day. And then you come back the following day and you pull that pad out with a clear thought. You're probably a little more pleasant, happier there. And then you're looking at that, and I have them look through and say, now I want you to look at all of those things. And I want you to tell me why that particular action that you looked at as negative, why that was a great moment in your life. Because think about it, like some tragic thing may have happened, and your mindset may be different now the way you do things. Somebody betrayed you, and so
Exactly.
now,
I love that actionable piece of advice. That's something that people can literally pause the podcast, do right now, and kind of see where they're at with it. That's a really awesome actionable step. I'm assuming your book probably has a bunch of those steps that people can take like right away. That's a great writing strategy too, getting people involved in the work, not just reading it. Would you agree that's something that you kind of weave into the book itself?
yeah, I like to give multiple options when it comes to like the reflect stage. They might have 8 different strategies you can use, and you can maybe do all of them, or you can do 3 or 4 of them, because everyone's different. And me, I'm a very ADD kind of guy. Like I need written planners. I need people around me who can kind of hold me together. Like I need a lot of support around me because I'm kind of a scatterbrain kind of man. you know. And so I'm just grateful that I've now learned how to use all the nonsense that's gone on in my life and use it for the good. And so I want to make sure and have something for almost every type of personality. Well, maybe you don't like that strategy, but you like the strategy, but maybe you don't like the method. And so there's options, multiple options in there. Plus, that's coming up. I was a football player. I kind of came up with the dumb jock era, like where you went to school just to play ball. Like I was that class of students, and I didn't like to read, so I try to write my books in a way for people who don't like to read, like to where they can get through it though.
Understood, and that's the best way to do it. You don't want it to be inaccessible, you want it to be relatable and just something, don't worry about deciphering the meaning of words before we worry about instead just, like, getting a message. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I love that. So, yeah, I mean, now that we're talking about the writing process a little bit, I'm curious to know, like, sort of what your process itself has been for writing. I mean, what's your writing routine like? When and where do you prefer to write? What works best for you? These are the tips that authors can really benefit from because maybe it'll like spark something in themselves, their own process. So, what's that like for you?
Well, that's a very complex question, and
Okay.
it's funny. It's funny. I did a career day recently, and a kid asked me like, "Is there a particular place you like to write?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"No, but what I do, I will say this. I have probably 75 to 100 of these in my dresser right behind me. I keep comic books all around me all the time because anytime I have a new idea, like I'll start a new comic book. I can't tell you how many incomplete books or complete books that are certain sitting around me right now. I probably have at least 4 to 5, once I just clean them up. But my writing process is just it just hits me. When I even keep a pad in the car with me. I keep a pad, like there's nowhere where I don't have a pen in my pocket because ideas come to me when I'm on my way to bed, when I'm about to read another particular book. I'm like, it just hits me. So I'm probably not the best as far as the process, as far as like a systematic process. I'm just a born writer, and so I just love to write all the time. And so with that, um, there are some, now don't get me wrong, when I know I'm going to write a book, there are some intentional times. And typically what I like to do is I like to, if I'm going to write, I'm going to unload as much as my mind can throw out there at one time. Because if any author who's out there and listening, it can relate with this. When I wrote my first book, Awaken the Baller Within, I wrote my first chapter and I was like, this is a pretty good chapter. But I didn't come back until maybe 4 or 5 days later to start writing again. And so,
Mm.
obviously, if you're going to start writing again, you need to read what you've read so you can
Ah,
pick up. I tell you, Danielle, when I'm looking through that, I'm like, who wrote this? This is awful. And what I mean by that is like your mind changes so much through the writing process that if you don't kind of keep it going every day, every other day when it comes to writing, you'll mess around and look at what you wrote a week ago and be like, this is horrible. And I don't even know what we're going to do with this material. And so I would say once you commit to it, even if it's, a page or two you're writing, just commit every day once you decide that writing is going to be what you want to do. And I'm actually trying to get back into the flow of like heavy, heavy, heavy writing again because like I'm the kind of person who I write everything, every keynote, every lesson plan, everything. Like I'm not the typer guy. I am pen to pad. I have your name on a pad right here next to me, making notes as you're talking, so that we can have a functioning and beautiful conversation. So
oh,
my strategy is just keep the pen moving. Don't let it get stale. Don't let it be dormant. Move with it.
right. I love that. And I like that you're kind of a handwriting type guy too. That's another strategy itself. Lots of people like to type and, just or use AI or voice transcription these days, but you have that, the physical sense of putting a pen to a paper. So that's something really cool that works for you too.
Yes.
That's awesome. So hey, you do a ton of stuff. You go to schools, you have classes. I mean, it's all amazing. But what next is on the horizon for you? I'm sure you're brewing up something new. You mentioned you have like 2 to 5 books you're thinking about. Are any of them sort of closer to release than others?
No, actually, I really want to put a lot of focus on now what I want to do. It came out in 2023, so I really want to push that. I want to do right not only by my people who take in my messages, but also by my publisher. I want to make sure and push quite a few more sales with it before I start jumping on other projects. But next on my list over here is to get obviously I'm doing quite a few podcasts through the circuit, and I got some in studio ones that I'm going to be looking to do when it comes to that. And so I'm excited for those. Probably going to fly out of town here probably in the next 2 to 3 months. I know the holidays are coming up, so we got to kind of figure that out. Um, but I mean, my main thing right now is getting on more stages and doing speaking to more athletes. I do a program where I speak to the athletes, the entire athletic department, and then I speak to the boys leaders, the girls leaders, and then the coaches. And then usually on the way out, we'll do a nonprofit event while we're out there, go serve the homeless or do something along those lines. And then we might do it like a Bible study as well. And so all of those things are what I'm looking to do at many schools. Obviously, I'm doing some out here in the Houston area. I got some out in East and West Texas. And so just getting on more stages, introducing the now what principles. Actually, somebody mentioned to me the other day was like, you should probably have a workbook to go along with that. And I was like, hmm, it's a good idea.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah,
need,
really.
need to get need to get on that. And the interesting thing about doing work like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it. We have colleagues and stuff who specialize in those kind of things, and so I might end up utilizing some of those services. And I still need to get in the studio and do the audiobook. Like I just love audiobooks. I
Yeah.
absolutely love audiobooks. And I love audiobooks that are with the author reading it. I don't want the narrator. I don't want the canned dude at the front of the movie trailer. I don't want him. Have you experienced this type of exciting things in your life? And it's like, dude, like,
Yeah.
but when it's the author who's reading it, he or she can read it from the standpoint of I live this. This book is me. And so
Yeah.
it just has a different flow to it. Whenever I turn one on and it's a narrator, I'm just like, okay, no, let's keep it moving. So, but no, that's going to be the next couple of things. I'm looking to get on more stages. So if there's anyone who has a sports team out there, and I know people are going into the holiday season, but it actually is a pretty good time to start looking at um, bringing someone in to motivate a group of athletes or a group of students going into the holidays, because that's the time when they don't have a schedule as much. If you play basketball, you do, but if you play football and the season's over, you just kind of
Right.
you're kind of just rolling into things. And so we want to make sure that they're still focused on a couple of things, or just while they're resting, hey, what's some mental work you can be doing? Obviously, that's kind of where
Mm.
Awaken the Bottle Within and some of the other books I've written come from. And so I want to get on more of those stages. So definitely your people can reach out to me, and I'm looking forward to doing some great work with your audience and many audiences across the country.
I love that. That's all beautiful stuff, and it's so important that you just have a mission. You keep going, right? Keep promoting, keep spreading the word. I mean, that's all you can do, really. Just to get the book out there to people who need it. So I'm glad that you're not giving up. A lot of people put their books on the shelves and hope for people to find it. You're on your mission. I love that. So yeah, I'm wondering if you have any other bits of advice for the writers out there today. Anything that maybe you wish you knew when you first got started.
Um, for talking about from a strategic standpoint, I'll stay away from like, my beliefs, even though my beliefs are very strong in what I do. Obviously, faith in God, Jesus Christ,
Or
Lord, that's all of those things are factors. But to me, the most important move you can make as an author is get a very, and I mean very competent editor. I'm talking about an editor who's savage. My editor, my editor is completely savage. She plays
Mhm. Doesn't hold back.
if we do another cat podcast, I'll tell you the story that she did with one of my chapters. I'm talking about she scrapped. I worked on a story for 3 days, and it
Mm.
was 2.5 pages long. She scrapped the entire story and left two sentences
No.
out alone. And I was like, "What are you doing?" She was like, "It's not important to the overall mission of the book." I'm like, "Yes, it is." She's like, "No, it's not." I mean, are you going to argue with somebody who has 7 bestsellers?
I guess,
So,
right?
so, so that was kind of the thing they have. So I would say the most important thing is go
Yeah.
find you a competent editor. I know AI is really good, and I want us to be able to utilize those tools, but it's just there's a human element that we have to continue to embrace and use. And I think an editor who once they know your mission, they've read your work, and they see what your outcomes are wanting to be, I think that working with them and going ahead and then making that investment, which can be pretty substantial, I think it's worth it. And so get you a good editor on your side, not a friend, unless your friend is awesome, but not because you don't want you what you want is somebody who can be objective. And if they're too close to you and they like you too much,
Yeah,
they
they'd be
won't
too
want
nice.
they won't want to tell you the truth. And whereas
Ex-
I have a great relationship with my editor, she when she gets in that mode, she's just like, I'm telling you, this is what it is. And it's just like, wow. So get that going. I would say that would be the one of the main and primary. And just stay consistent. Just lean in. And when you come up with an idea, start making the notes, outline it, mind map it, and say, see what you got here, and then we can kind of go from there. And so, and if any of your people have any questions about any of those things, I mean, I'm available. Just tell them to send me an email, and put authors on mission in the subject line. I'll spend a few minutes with them and help them out. And also, if they have any young people in their lives who are struggling right now and going through a rough season, give me a call on that too. Where I work with young men, I typically tie 3 hours a week to the betterment and mentoring of young men. And so that's what we do. So if your people reach out, we can make something happen.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. Guys, we're going to put the links in the description box of the podcast. So if that calls to you, if have a service where he could be an inspirational force, then go ahead and click on over and get connected. This has been really inspiring. I really appreciate you coming on today and getting to know you a little bit more and getting to know your work. It's been a great call.
I appreciate you having me on, Danielle, and good luck to you and best of luck to you in your podcast.
Of course, and right back at you. And to all of our authors, again, if you're inspired and you want to do this yourself, and you just have a book idea and you want to get it out there, well, like we said, just do it. Start outlining, make that mind map, make it happen. And until next time, everyone, just keep writing, keep reading, and keep inspiring. We'll see you next time on the Authors on Mission podcast. That's a wrap on another episode of the Authority on Demand podcast. If today's conversation sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a founder or a leader who's ready to stop being the best kept secret in their industry. If you want to turn your expertise into inbound demand, head to authorityondemand.com to see how we help clients go from unknown to in demand. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, and I'll catch you on the next one. Now, go build some authority.